needs. This will ensure we obtain the required quantity effective from the fourth quarter of 2020 to the last quarter of 2021, according to the official. Dr. Ahmed bin Salim Al-Mandhari, Regional Director of the WHO for the Middle East region, said that the COVID-19 pandemic is still spreading. Regarding Oman, he said that the Sultanate is among the 22 countries in the region to procure vaccine at a fair price. He said that Oman is among the 11 countries self-financing the purchase of vaccines and has also entered into agreements with COVAX facility in cooperation with the WHO. The Ministry of Health has already set up a national plan to cover the various categories of people needing vaccination on priority basis in all the governorates. The Sultanate has embraced the culture of peace and it is accorded a special status in the country's policy as reaffirmed by His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq in his speech. This was stated yesterday before the United Nations General Assembly meeting during the Sultanate's speech, quoting His Majesty the Sultan's royal address last February, in which he had said, "Oman's message of peace will continue to roam the world, conveying a great legacy and noble objectives, building rather than demolishing, working from reapproachment rather than distancing." The Sultanate's speech was delivered by Ahmed bin Daud Az-Zajali, Deputy Representative of the Sultanate to the United Nations. Az-Zajali said that peace is one of the greatest bounties since it is the mainstay of stability of nations and the factor that accelerates cooperation among countries. He explained that the Sultanate has embraced peace and that it has strong conviction in its significance. Oman espoused peace as a permanent component of its foreign policy and a noble objective that it strives to achieve in its relations with all countries of the world, said Az-Zajali, adding that the Sultanate will continue to be a supporter of culture of peace in its full sense, its values and ethical principles that encourage non-violence and non-utilization of force, principles that advocate the settlement of disputes by peaceful means. Now, GU Tech students in the Sultanate has presented concepts for reinvigorating and developing heritage sites such as the Matra Fort and properties adjacent to the fort. Students from various departments, including urban planning and architectural design, computer science and international business, and service management, were involved in the project. This will help realize the Ministry of Heritage and Tourism's vision for the development of Matra for tourism. Private and public sector representatives were impressed by the work done by the students in the past year course and offered support to enable the project's success. The attendees discussed ways in which the Oman-German Friendship Association and the resources of the private sector under the guidance of the ministry could be combined. For all the travels right now, Oman Air is offering MySpace, an option which gives economy class guests the opportunity to ensure that the seat next to them is vacant. The airline's program makes it simple to travel with even more comfort and convenience. When guests check in online 48 hours before their departure, they can select their seats via an interactive seat map and choose the option to ensure at least one seat next to them is vacant. If the option is not available for guests' chosen seats, they can select another seat that does have adjacent vacancies. More information is available at omanair.com. Guests can choose MySpace until 3 hours before their flight's departure time. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have a very special guest joining us right after this short commercial break.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Outline. Now, before going on the commercial break, I said that we have a very special guest joining us. Before we invite to the guest, I would like to remind all the viewers that about 2 weeks ago, the Ministry of Labour in the Sultanate announced that all the expats working in the country who are planning to leave Oman for good were exempted from paying all the fines related to their work permit. The Ministry of Labour said that it is provided that the expats leave the Sultanate for good between the period of November 15th and December 31st, 2020. They also pointed out that any fines related to the Royal Oman Police and other agencies of the Supreme Committee dealing with COVID-19, the fines were not exempted for that. And in this regard, let's welcome His Excellency Munu Mahawar, who is the Ambassador of India to the Sultanate. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us today.
Good afternoon, namaskar.
It's
Great
always
pleasure
a pleasure
to join you again.
I was just going to say, Your Excellency, that it's always a pleasure to have you on our show.
Yes, and I am always delighted to join Times team and connect with your viewers. And given that we are in the middle of pandemic, it's always a good instrument, good channel for us to also communicate with the members of our community.
Absolutely. So, Your Excellency, we were just talking about the general amnesty scheme that has been announced by the Ministry of Labour in the country. In this regard, since that it started in November 15th, how many Indian nationals have actually applied for it?
So, before I get into the specifics of the amnesty scheme and how Indian nationals are taking benefit of it, let me once again extend our warm greetings to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq and the government and people of Oman on the occasion of 50th National Day. We have been working very closely with government of Oman during the entire COVID period, and we remain engaged to further develop our cooperation in the post-COVID era as well. Just yesterday, our foreign ministers have also spoken. So I just wanted to begin by thanking the government of Oman and reassuring our full support and cooperation in the days ahead. As far as this amnesty scheme is concerned, we again welcome this gesture, this initiative of government of Oman, which will really help a large number of people, expat community members who are really most vulnerable. Yes, the members of the Indian community have also started, registering for the scheme. And as on date, we have been able to register around 2,000 persons, a little less than 2,000. And many of them have already got approval. As per the figures that are available with me, we have already issued a travel document for about 250 persons who did not have valid travel document, and a similar number are under process. So these are broadly the numbers as of date, but we still have almost 1 full month to go. So I'm sure many more people will make use of this opportunity.
Your Excellency, you just mentioned that this kind of initiative has been welcomed by all the expats community living in the Sultanate, and also the Indian nationals are also making the use of this general amnesty that has been in place. How far do you think the response has been welcomed by the Indian nationals living in the country?
So I think in general, the Indian community has been extremely appreciative of the support and cooperation we have been receiving from Government of Oman and Omani authorities. Now, we have been operating flights regularly, first under the Vande Bharat mission, and thereafter we have an air bubble in place. So, the Indian community members as well as Omani nationals have been able to travel regularly, frequently, easily to India and from India under these arrangements. But yes, there were a number of people who could not travel because their visas had expired. They were facing some fines, which have now been exempted. So essentially, these people who were not in a position to pay the fines and they were waiting for some kind of opportunity to travel back, they are really very happy that now they can return to India without paying fines, which in any case was a difficult proposition given the limited income or money they were possessing. So essentially, these people are really welcoming this initiative and making use of this opportunity to return to their home country.
Thank you, Your Excellency. You just mentioned that about less than 2,000 Indian nationals have already applied within the span of, say, 2 weeks. Are you seeing more Indian nationals applying to go back to India?
So it's very difficult to give a firm estimate of how many more will apply. Since we had regular flights operating between India and Oman, many people have already traveled, some after paying fines. I do not know whether we would see a surge in numbers because essentially for the first few days, people were waiting for some clarity too much. But in the last 10 days, we have been registering people at an average of about 120, 130 persons per day. I expect this pace to continue. But again, it's very difficult to. We are encouraging from the embassy side to people to come forward and register, and then travel back to India before 31st December. Our suggestion, our recommendation to all Indian nationals would be who wish to make use of this opportunity to register as soon as possible. And the embassy is facilitating, helping this process. We have taken several measures to facilitate this process. A large number of them are getting registered in the embassy premises, where we are providing this service absolutely free of charge. We hope that all those people who really want to travel under this scheme would be able to register quickly and then travel back.
Thank you, Your Excellency. You just mentioned about the process and the procedure. If you don't mind, Your Excellency, how long does it take for an expat to register and then to get on board the flight? Because I'm not sure if it varies from country to country or the situation or the reason. How long should an expat wait for the procedure to come in place?
So, based on the experience that we have gained in last 2 weeks, it's essentially, the registration itself is fairly quick. If a person comes to the embassy or goes to Ministry of Labor website or let's say goes to Sanad office, the registration can be done very quickly. It takes about 5 to 7 working days for the Ministry of Labor to give its clearance. Once clearance is given, we are asking Indian nationals to approach any of the visa collection centers where within 1 or 2 days, working days, we are able to issue them emergency certificate. Once the emergency certificate is, they have to get their COVID test done and buy an air ticket and they can travel. So I would say all in all, it should be possible for a person to complete all the formalities over 2 weeks. And from the embassy side, we are extending full support, as I said. There is no prior appointment required. You can walk in for the registration process. And for emergency certificate also, we are providing it free of charge. But still, as I said, the deadline is 31st December, and we would encourage people to come forward and register quickly.
Right. Your Excellency, talking about emergency certificate, we know that the respected government of India actually has recently approved the issuance of emergency certificate. Could you please tell us a little about it, the terms and conditions, who are eligible to apply for emergency certificate?
So essentially, an emergency certificate is required for those people who do not hold valid travel document. If their passports have expired, or they have lost their passport, they are not in possession of their passport, or if they were issued some kind of travel document in the past, but which is no longer valid. I must say, when I was mentioning about this 2-week period, I was referring to those cases who do not possess a valid travel document. If you have a valid passport with you, you can register and then simultaneously process other things in terms of having your COVID test done or buying an air ticket. Only those people who do not possess a valid travel document, they need to approach the embassy for emergency certificate. Usually, the embassy charges a fee of about 6 riyal, and there are some additional surcharge, which we have decided to exempt, waive completely. No one is required to pay any kind of fee to get an emergency travel document, emergency certificate issued, provided, of course, that person is not holding a valid passport.
Right. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Now, talking about flights, Your Excellency, are the repatriation flights still in operation? Because the regular flights have already resumed. So how is it going with the repatriation flights?
So we are no longer calling it a repatriation flight. We now have an air bubble agreement in place between India and Oman, which means air carriers of both sides, both countries can operate flights. And under the air bubble agreement, we have put a ceiling. The ceiling was mutually agreed, and it provides for 5,000 seats per side per week. Roughly 60 to 70 flights a week. That would be roughly the number, and it is possible for people to travel in both directions. Of course, subject to the visa rules of the respective countries. So it's no longer a one-way flow. Travel is taking place in both directions. We are issuing visas for Omani nationals in a number of categories. And of course, Indian nationals are traveling. Oman government has also allowed many visa categories of visa holders to return, enter Oman. So it's now a step closer to complete normalcy, I would say.
Yeah, Your Excellency, you just spoke about this is another step towards normalcy, because just on 1st December, the 20 other economic activities were all open in Oman, and as well as the tourist visas have been, again, been issued by the government of Oman. Now, talking about, still we are in the mid of COVID, Your Excellency, not just in the Sultanate, but across the globe. Is there any other initiative or piece of information on this platform you would like to share with our viewers?
Well, first of all, as I said in the beginning, let me once again reaffirm India's commitment to work closely with the government and people of Oman to deal with various challenges that have emanated from this pandemic, both economic and healthcare challenges. We have been working very closely, and we will continue to work very closely. And there is a strong desire at both leadership and people-to-people level to do so. COVID situation is still not over. Yes, we are increasingly moving towards normalcy. Today, as you just announced in your own news, UK has given permission. I'm sure it's a matter of time when COVID vaccines will become available to everyone. But until then, as we resume our economic activities, other activities, it is also important to continue taking precautions. You have to stay safe until vaccine becomes available to everyone. So I would like to convey appeal through you to your viewers that please keep taking precautions and stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, once again for taking out time and joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to have you on board, Your Excellency. It's time for us to take a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have more updates coming your way from our international desk.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Outline. And now from our international desk. The United Kingdom has granted approval for the use of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Pfizer. British regulator MHRA approved the rollout for mass vaccinations, which are likely to begin within days, according to local media reports. The UK has ordered 40 million doses already, reports said, of which 10 million will be available soon. Oman News Agency reported that vaccine distribution will begin next week. The total active caseload of coronavirus in India has dropped to over 400,000 on Wednesday. India's total active caseload has significantly dropped to 428,644 yesterday. This is the lowest after 132 days. The total active cases were 426,167 on July 23, 2020, a statement from the Union government read. According to the statement, there has been a sustained decrease in the number of active cases. India's present active caseload consists of just 4.5% of country's total positive cases. The daily new cases added to the country's COVID numbers have been around 30,000 since the past 3 days. The number of daily new cases in the last 24 hours is 36,604. 43,062 cases recovered and discharged in the last 24 hours. The number of daily recovered cases has surpassed the daily new cases since the past 5 days. The difference in new recoveries outnumbering new cases has also improved the recovery rate to 94.03% today. According to the statement, the total recovered cases stand at 8,932,647. The gap between recovered cases and active cases, that is steadily increasing, presently stands at 8,504,003. Maharashtra has reported the maximum number of single-day recoveries with 6,290 newly recovered cases. 6,151 people recovered in Kerala, followed by 5,036 in Delhi. Kerala reported the highest daily new cases at 5,375, which is followed by Maharashtra at 4,930 new cases. 501 case fatalities have been reported in the past 24 hours as well. The government of New Zealand has declared a climate emergency on Wednesday, a symbolic step recognizing the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change predictions of substantial global warming if emissions do not fall. Alongside the declaration, New Zealand announced it would require its public sector to become carbon neutral by 2025. Government agencies would need to measure, report, and offset emissions. The public sector needs to be and will be an exemplar that sets the standard we will need to achieve by 2050, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern told Parliament in Wellington. 32 other countries, including Japan, Canada, France, and the United Kingdom, have already declared a climate emergency. Doing so indicates the governments recognize climate change as an existential threat that requires urgent action in response. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have more updates from our sports desk.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to TTV. You're still watching Outline, and now from a sports desk. For good reasons, a Saturday in March 2021 will be a special day for Mick Schumacher. The 21-year-old will mark the start of the new Formula One season just one day ahead of his 22nd birthday. The seven-time world champion's son has signed a multi-year contract to race for Haas Racing, the US-based team. The driver is continuing the family tradition as he will make his debut 30 years on from his father, Michael's first ever race in Spa 1991. The new chapter stands for a significant milestone after having to compete in the shadow of his popular father for over a decade now. Michael Schumacher disappeared from the public eye after a ski accident 7 years ago. He suffered severe head injuries and is being treated in the privacy of the family estate in Switzerland. Mike, who won the European Formula 3rd Championship in 2018, and he made his final debut last season in F2. With this news, we have come to the end of the episode for today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, next week at 2 p.m. Keep watching TTV.
You've just heard the live feed from the TTV studios on TFM 95.4. Let's talk.